Welcome to CatFactsFunny. When people ask who reads humans better, cats or dogs, they are often searching for a winner. The question carries a quiet assumption that understanding must be measurable, that perception can be ranked, that one species must sit above the other in emotional intelligence. Dogs are expressive and outwardly responsive. Cats are quiet, measured, and often misunderstood. But the deeper truth is that reading a human is not about reacting quickly or visibly. It is about perception, about noticing patterns that unfold over time, about sensing shifts that occur beneath tone and language. Depth does not always reveal itself in movement. Sometimes it lives in stillness. Before we decide who understands more, we have to reconsider what understanding actually looks like. What it means to read a human. To read someone is not simply to hear their voice or see their gestures. It is to interpret subtle changes, to detect inconsistency between words and posture, to notice when energy shifts in ways that cannot be easily explained. Humans often believe that reading requires interaction, that connection must be active and visible to be meaningful. Yet much of human perception happens quietly. We read rooms before we speak. We sense tension before conflict begins. We notice mood shifts long before they are verbally acknowledged. Animals operate within this same subtle territory. When we say a dog reads a human, we refer to its responsiveness, its ability to follow pointing gestures, interpret facial expressions, mirror emotional tone. When we question whether a cat reads us, we often do so because their responses are less immediate, less performative, less reassuring. But response and perception are not identical. A creature may perceive deeply and still choose silence. And silence is not absence. The evolution of two different minds. Dogs evolved alongside humans in cooperative partnership. Over thousands of years, they adapted to human cues, learning to track eye movement, follow commands, and respond to emotional tone with remarkable speed. Their survival became intertwined with our approval, our communication, our presence. As a result, their perception developed outwardly, shaped by collaboration. They read humans in order to engage. Cats followed a different path. Their domestication was gradual and less directive. They remained closer to their wild ancestors, retaining independence and solitary hunting instincts. Their survival depended not on cooperation but on precision. A missed detail in the wild could mean hunger or danger. As a result, cats evolved acute sensitivity to micromovements, environmental fluctuations, and faint sound changes. Their perception developed inwardly, shaped by caution and observation. They read the world in order to evaluate. Neither evolutionary path is superior. They are simply different architectures of awareness. The quiet intelligence of observation. A cat sitting across the room may appear disengaged, yet its stillness is rarely passive. The ears rotate toward subtle sound shifts. The pupils adjust to micro changes in light and movement. The body remains poised in a state of alert calm that allows immediate response if needed. This physical state mirrors a psychological one. Cats observe before they act. They gather information before they respond. When your breathing becomes shallow from stress, your cat may not rush toward you, but it often adjusts its position. When your daily rhythm shifts because of emotional strain, your cat may begin appearing at different times of day, as though recalibrating itself to your altered pattern. These adjustments are rarely dramatic. They unfold quietly, sometimes so gently that they escape notice. But quiet does not mean accidental. It means measured. Emotional tone and recognition. Scientific studies have shown that cats can distinguish their owner's voice from that of strangers, even when they appear not to react. They recognize tone variations and often alter their ear movement, gaze direction, or body posture in response. The absence of overt enthusiasm has led many to assume indifference. Yet behavioral research suggests that cats often process information before choosing engagement. Their response system includes evaluation, not just reaction. Dogs, by contrast, often mirror emotion immediately. A raised voice may trigger excitement or concern, Tears may bring physical closeness. Laughter may spark movement. Their perception translates quickly into visible behavior. This outward synchronization feels deeply validating to humans. We see it, we feel it, and we interpret it as profound understanding. But depth is not always measured by immediacy. Sometimes it is measured by duration, by consistency of subtle change over time. The illusion of visible empathy. Humans are social creatures who seek confirmation that we are understood. Visible response comforts us. A dog placing its head on our lap during sadness feels unmistakable. A cat sitting quietly at the edge of the room may not evoke the same immediate reassurance. Yet if that cat consistently moves closer during prolonged stress, or alters sleeping proximity during illness, something deeper may be unfolding. Cats often respond more strongly to sustained emotional patterns than to brief emotional spikes. They track atmosphere rather than momentary expression. If tension lingers in a household, cats may become vigilant or withdrawn. If calm becomes consistent, they may relax visibly. Their perception appears less about isolated signals and more about overall stability. In this way, they read not just emotion, but emotional narrative. Choice as a sign of awareness. There is a common belief that cats understand but choose not to respond, and this belief is often framed as stubbornness or detachment. Yet choice itself requires awareness. A creature cannot decide to ignore what it has not perceived. When a cat hears its name and flicks an ear without moving, that subtle acknowledgement may represent recognition without compliance. It is not necessarily a failure of understanding. It may be a demonstration of autonomy layered over perception. Dogs, whose evolutionary path favored cooperation, often display understanding through compliance. Cats, whose survival favored independence, display understanding through evaluation. These differences shape how we interpret their intelligence. We tend to reward visible cooperation, which makes canine perception easier to celebrate. Feline perception requires closer observation and perhaps more humility from us. Different forms of depth. If depth is defined as emotional expressiveness, dogs appear to read humans with remarkable clarity. If depth is defined as sustained observation and environmental attunement, cats reveal a quieter complexity. Dogs know through participation. Cats know through watchfulness. Dogs step into the emotional space with us. Cats measure the space before entering it. Neither approach diminishes the other. They represent two distinct philosophies of connection. One says, "I feel this with you." The other says, "I see what is happening." Both forms of awareness can be profound. Both can be comforting. Both require sensitivity, simply expressed through different behavioral languages. Before we close, take a quiet moment to think about your own cat. Think about the times when nothing was said, yet something felt understood. The way they lingered nearby during a difficult week, or watched you from across the room as if measuring more than movement. Cats do not always respond in ways that reassure us immediately, but reassurance is not the only sign of awareness. Sometimes understanding arrives without sound, without touch, without performance. And if you begin to notice those silent adjustments, you may realize that being read does not always feel dramatic. Sometimes it feels like being quietly known. Perhaps we are the ones being read. In the end, the question of who reads humans better may say more about our expectations than about their abilities. We often equate love with enthusiasm, intelligence with obedience, empathy with visible reaction. But perception can exist without performance. Understanding can unfold without announcement. If you watch your cat closely, you may begin to notice patterns that once seemed invisible. The way they adjust their distance when your mood shifts. The way they appear during prolonged change, not just fleeting emotion. The way their quiet gaze seems to measure more than it reveals. These are not random movements. They are expressions of awareness shaped by a different evolutionary story. So who knows more? Perhaps the answer depends on how we define knowing. Dogs read us through connection that feels immediate and warm. Cats read us through observation that feels subtle and restrained. Both forms of perception are real. Both are deep. And perhaps the more meaningful question is not which species understands us better, but whether we are willing to notice the quiet ways they already do.